Okay. Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me today to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a few moments to become present. Find a nice, comfortable seated position where your back and the spine and the back of your neck are nice and long and straight, opening up your diaphragm, opening up your heart. And just relax. And gently close your eyes. Soften your thoughts. Soften your eyes. Soften your shoulders. Soften your heart. Observe your breath the way it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes now. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or a phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. And this morning's intention, let's talk about the very last niyama, niyamas being the guidelines, how to interact with yourself. And it's Ishvara Pranidhana, Ishvara Pranidhana. And that means, in Sanskrit, to surrender. It presupposes that there is a divine force or something greater than ourselves at work in our lives, which invites us to surrender our egos, open our hearts, and accept the higher purpose of our being. Oftentimes, it's like a feeling that you get that it's meant to be, that feeling that no matter what you do, you're guided along this certain path, and it's your destiny in essence. But that surrendering is not passive. It's not about giving up. It asks us to be strong enough to engage in each moment with integrity, and at the same time to be soft enough to flow with the current of life. One of my favorite phrases that I actually, is a little side note, it was I think the one and only thing I ever embroidered in my life is the serenity prayer. And the serenity prayer goes, God grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So it's that higher connection of surrendering to that higher connection and trusting in the universe is going to guide you along the way you should be guided. So in celebration of National Yoga Month, which is September, we've been doing a few different styles of yoga. Today we're going to do yin yoga. And it works nicely with the surrender intention, because it's not to be confused with restorative yoga, which is all about propping yourself up with props and just relaxing and kind of having a spa day. That's my version of a spa, is going to a restorative yoga class. it's a style of yoga that's called the yoga of the joints, because unlike the other styles, it emphasizes not the muscles, but the deep connective tissue. And it's a passive style of yoga. If you think about the term yin, and its counterpoint is yang. Yang is about, well, there's a lot of yin yangs. There's yin, moon, yang, sun, hot, cold, opposites basically. And yin is passive and yang is active. So the yin yoga is a passive yoga. So you're in a pose for typically 3 to 5 minutes. We'll do 2 minutes per pose because we don't do this that often. But so it's a very passive style of yoga. But while you're passive, your inners are working all the time to work on the connective tissue, not on the muscles. So there's 3 principles of yin yoga. One is find your edge. I talk often about finding that sweet spot, and that's what that is. It's letting your intuition be your teacher, and then you can compassionately lean into the pose, finding that sweet spot. The other principle is to become as still as you can be, and that's that passiveness. And that's probably one of the hardest ones for all of us. But it's the doorway to becoming present. You're being still, and oftentimes in meditation where you're trying to be present, that stillness comes in handy. And it's a mental and physical challenge to try to maintain that stillness. And the last principle is to surrender to time, so that you are just not paying attention to time. You're just letting your body do its thing. And I'll be the timekeeper. So let's go to the mat. I do have some props that I might be using today, and maybe suggesting that you use. We did a ton of stuff last week with props, but 2 props, if you can have them close by to utilize if you want, a blanket and your blocks. So I'll meet you on the mat. And in order to help with the stillness part, I've put together affirmations to go with each of the poses. So they're affirmations that I've selected for the fall, autumn season. So I'll be putting you into the pose, and then for the 2 minutes, you just relax, invite that pose into your body, and you can possibly meditate on the affirmation. So we'll start first in a reclined mountain pose. We'll just kind of work on our essentials. So lower down to the mat, find yourself nice and comfortable in the mat. And like a mountain pose, which we're standing, our feet are flexed, toes are pointing up to the sky, legs are straight and strong, having a nice gentle bend in the knee. Your navel's tucked to your spine, lowering your lower back to the mat. And if you have some lower back fatigue, that's where a blanket, or in my case, a towel can come in handy. And then up to your shoulders, just relax those. Your shoulder blades should be nice and snug into the mat. Shoulders rolled back, crown of your head pointing up to the short end of the mat. And just relax here. And we're going to do some pranayama here, just deep inhales and deep exhales. And on the inhale, inviting awareness into your mind and your body, of how your body feels. And then the deep exhale is surrendering your bones and your muscles to the mat, Just let everything surrender to the mat. Feel nice and heavy. No tension, just surrender your body. So deep inhale, inviting awareness in. Deep exhale, surrendering your bones and your muscles to your mat. Deep inhale, inviting awareness in. Deep exhale, surrendering your bones and muscles to the mat. Just relaxing, getting heavy. Deep inhale, inviting awareness in. Deep exhale, surrendering. Deep inhale, deep exhale. Deep inhale, deep exhale. Surrendering to the mat. Deep inhale, inviting awareness in. Deep exhale, surrendering down to the mat. Take 5 more deep inhales and exhales. Okay, now inhaling, bringing your right knee to the chest. And we're just going to hold it there. So first of all, just bring it to the chest until you find that sweet spot that your knee is comfortable. And then interlace your fingers and just gently rest them on your knee. Not pulling your knee into your chest, just kind of having it there and supported by your hands. So the affirmation for this knee to chest: like the leaves during autumn, I shed that which no longer serves me. Like the leaves during autumn, I shed that which no longer serves me. And relax your right leg back down to the mat. Inhale, lifting your left leg up toward your chest, finding that sweet spot. Then interlace your fingers and just gently rest them on your left knee. For 2 minutes. The affirmation again is like the leaves during autumn, I shed that which no longer serves me. Like the leaves during autumn, I shed that which no longer serves me. You can bring your left leg down now. And bring both your legs up so your knees are bent up toward the sky and your feet, the soles of your feet are planted on the mat, about hip width apart. We'll do a recline pigeon pose. So bring your right ankle and lie it on your left thigh, just below the knee. Your right foot, toes are flexed up to the sky. And you can gently guide your right knee toward the right side of your mat. And you can stay here if this is comfortable for you, or if you'd like, you can even lift up your left leg, bringing it toward your chest and have it in a 90-degree angle, like you're sitting in a chair. I would suggest just having it at the 90-degree angle because we're looking for a pose that's sustainable during the 2 minutes. So we'll start that now. And the affirmation is, I flow easily, accepting and embracing change. I flow easily, accepting and embracing change. You can bring both feet back down to the mat. We'll switch sides. So, and just check on your alignment. Lower back snug into the mat. Knees are hip width apart, and then place your left ankle on your right thigh, just below the knee, guiding your left knee toward the left side of your mat. And you can stay here with your right foot planted on the mat, or you could raise it to a right angle. And the affirmation is, I flow easily, accepting and embracing change. I flow easily, accepting and embracing change. Bring both feet back down to the mat. Roll over to your favorite side and make your way up to tabletop. So in tabletop, you have your wrists right below your shoulders, knees right below your hips, navel's tucked to your spine. We're going to take your feet and send them to the left side of your mat. So you're going to kind of slide your feet over to the left side of your mat. And then you're going to come down onto your seat. And then spread your knees out so that your knees reach the edges of the mat. We're going to come into, this is deer pose. And you may want to sit on a blanket here, support yourself. And deer pose, what we can do is take our left hand, put it on our right knee, and turn to the right side of our mat. Or you can keep it center, or you can have it any degree between center and looking to the right side of your mat. Again, we're looking for something that your intuition is telling you that's my sweet spot, and it's going to be sustainable for 2 minutes. So the affirmation is, I am rooted and grounded no matter the direction or force of the wind. I am rooted and grounded no matter the direction or force of the wind. And come back to center and come back up into tabletop. We'll do that on the other side. So with your knees directly below your hips, hip width apart, swing your feet out to the right side of the mat. So they're off that, and then lower your your seat back down to the mat. And then spread your knees out so that they are your knees are on the edges of the mat. So this is deer pose. Back is nice and straight and long. And bring your right hand to your left knee or anywhere in between facing frontward, and then bring your right hand to your left knee, twisting your torso to the left side of the mat. And we'll begin. I am rooted and grounded no matter the direction or force of the wind. I am rooted and grounded no matter the direction or force of the wind. You can continue those deep breaths that we did at the very beginning too. Inhaling, inviting awareness in, exhaling, surrendering to the mat. Come back to center. Then come up into tabletop again. We're going to go into a lizard pose, low lunge lizard pose. So in tabletop, bring your right foot up, so that's a 90-degree angle, and actually come into a runner's pose so that you can get your alignment right. So with your front right leg in a 90-degree angle, knees over your ankle, you're up on your left toes in runner's lunge, and then lower your left knee back down to the mat so that you're in proper alignment. And then for lizard pose, we bring both hands to the inner part of your foot. So in this case, your right shoulder will be leaning against your right knee, and your right knee should remain over your ankle, it shouldn't splay out. So there's the shoulder and knee are snug together, but the knee is vertical, straight over your ankle. And with your hands, you can either have them placed directly on the mat, or if you have blocks, you can use the blocks to support your hands, lifting you up, have a little bit less of an angle on your lower back. Or if you want, you can even use the blocks to bring your forearms down on too. And I probably wouldn't go any further than that. I don't know. I mean, maybe it is sustainable for you for 2 minutes, but we'll go from here. And the affirmation is, I am equipped with all that I need in this season of transition. I am equipped with all that I need in this season of transition. And come up from that. I'm going to switch feet, so come back to tabletop. Bring your left foot up, and then tuck your right toes under, coming up into runner's lunge so you can feel that the alignment is correct. And then lower your right knee to the mat. And again, bring both hands to the inner side of your left foot. And they can be on blocks or on the mat. You can rest your forearms on the blocks. Your left knee should be right over your ankle, not splayed out. And we'll begin. I am equipped with all that I need in this season of transition. I am equipped with all that I need in this season of transition. And come back up. Come back to tabletop. And then we're going to lower ourselves to the mat for Sphinx. And you may want, depending on how your lower back is, for a deeper arch, you would have yourself right on the mat, your tummy right on the mat. If you want a less deeper arch in your lower back, then you can slide a blanket or towel underneath your hips and lower down on that. So we bring our tummy, ourselves to the mat. For Sphinx, your elbows would be right under your shoulders, creating that gentle arch in your back. Your legs are nice and straight and strong. Tops of your feet are on the mat. And if this isn't comfortable for your shoulders, you can slide your elbows a little bit further. So we'll begin now. The affirmation is, I open my heart to the gift of change. I open my heart to the gift of change. Focus on your breathing, the inhale, inviting that awareness in, and the exhale, surrendering to the mat, just relaxing and surrendering. Deep inhales, deep exhales. And then we'll come back up. So come back up to tabletop by pressing down into the mat from your hands underneath your shoulders, like you're about to do cobra. Come into tabletop, and then we're going to go into a wide-legged child's pose. So bringing your big toes together and extending out your knees to the sides of the mat. And you can employ either your blanket or your blocks to rest down on. Arms are fully extended out. And if the wide-legged pose is too much, you can bring your knees in and rest your torso on your knees. Find a position that is comfortable and sustainable for you. The affirmation is, I grant myself space for energy, healing, and reset. I grant myself space for energy, healing, and reset. And you can come back up to tabletop. And you swing your feet out to the side and come into staff pose. You're trying to sit on the mat. And if you do have a blanket, this is a good pose to use the blanket. Fold the blanket up so it has a little bit of elevation, and then sit on the edge of the blanket so that you're rolling your torso, your pelvis to the front, and that will help create a nice straight back for staff. And then the pose we're going to do is called caterpillar, and it's a very passive pose. You're basically just gently rolling your top of your torso, your shoulders toward your thighs, but keeping enough space so that your diaphragm stays open so that you can continue your deep inhales and deep exhales. And it's not pulls, I don't want to use that word. It stretches along the spine. So your spine is getting this nice gentle stretch. So we'll start that. The affirmation is, I allow my mind and body to naturally transform and evolve with the turning of the seasons. I allow my mind and body to naturally transform and evolve with the turning of the seasons. You can roll back up again. And this one is one of my favorite poses. It's a recline, it's butterfly. It's also cobbler's pose. And the most excellent thing about it is that when you take your blanket and roll it up into a tight roll like that, bringing your feet, the soles of your feet together, you place the middle of the blanket on top of your feet, and then pull those edges of the blanket underneath your ankles. So you're cocooning your ankles in this blanket, and they're helping to support keeping the soles of your feet together. And if you like, you can use blocks on your knees if you don't want to use the blanket technique, or you can use both actually. And then you're going to gently roll back down to the mat. And just be in recline. It's also reclined goddess, but in yin yoga, they call it butterfly. And I just love how my ankles feel all nice and snug and soft in this little cocoon or towel. So we'll go for 2 minutes here. And the affirmation is, I trust my life is unfolding exactly as it should be. I trust my life is unfolding exactly as it should be. Remember to continue deep breathing, deep inhales, inviting awareness in, deep exhales, surrendering to the mat. Inhale, take your hands and help guide your legs back to center. Remove your blanket. And while we're lying on our back, feet, knees are hip width apart. Take your hips and slide them over to the left side of the mat so that they're almost toward the edge or on the edge of the mat. And then we're going to drop our knees to the right, like a reclined twist, but we're going to roll ourselves over with our knees so that you're lying on your side, your knees are stacked above one another. And then take your arms and stretch them out in front of you with your palms on each together. So Anjali Mudra out in front of you. And then we're going to take the left hand and make as if we're drawing a rainbow over us. So inhale, lifting the left hand up and sweeping it over and lying it on the left side. So our chests open up and we just drew a big rainbow over our hearts. We're going to recline in this position for 2 minutes. And the affirmation is, I feel grateful for this beautiful life. I feel grateful for this beautiful life. Your head is actually staring up to the sky. Shoulders are snug on the mat. Deep inhale, inviting the awareness in. Deep exhale, surrendering your bones and your muscles to the mat. Take the left hand and sweep it over, creating that rainbow over your heart, and bring the left palm back to the right palm, turn your torso over, and then go back on your back, and we'll do that on the other side. So with your knees hip width apart, lower back on the mat, spine is nice and straight. We're going to shift our hips to the right side of the mat, so it's almost on the edge, and then roll over our whole torso. Knees are stacked over one another, coming onto our side, and then stretch out our arms in front of us. Palms are together, and then we're going to sweep our right arm overhead, creating that rainbow over our heart, dropping our right hand to the right side of the mat, opening up our chest, getting our shoulders so they're trying to reach the mat, and your gaze is up to the sky. The affirmation, I feel grateful for this beautiful life. I feel grateful for this beautiful life. Take your right hand and bring it, sweeping it over your head, bringing it back to your left palm, rolling your torso over to the side. And then stretch out on your mat, prepare for Shavasana. Just relax your whole body. And once again, surrendering it to the mat. Take deep inhales, sending the inhale up from your toes, on up to your nose, and a big exhale. And I have a quote from Deborah Adele about the Ishvara Pranidhana. She said, "Life knows what to do better than we do. Our task is simply to let go and receive each moment with an open heart, and then dance skillfully with it."